there has been a few moments in human history that had left a remarkable footprint in our history. Leaping to freedom is one of these moments that thankfully was captured, and we have some footage about it, and it allows us to understand the history of Germany, about what's happening in the aftertaste of the Second World War. So let's see the footage that we have about it.
That was a great jump, huh? So, continuing talking about the wall, it's important to say that the wall was on its third day of construction. Instead, it was a spine barricade placed in the streets. If the soldier didn't take the decision in this time, couldn't be possible to this to happen. It's important to say that this event occurred in 1961, in August 1961, during the Cold War. So now, Christian, I ask to you, if Peñalosa divide Bogota into, what would you do?
That's a nice question actually, my friend. And I have to tell you, I think Bogota is already divided, but not physically, just like by poverty, by rich people, because we have a really big difference between these two sides. I think if Peñalosa would divide by physically the city, I will have to be secure that my people, my lovely people, it's on my side. I don't know if the university will be in my side. Maybe no. Maybe I don't have any hospital, or I don't know what I'm going to do. But who was the protagonist of this picture? Actually, his name was Konrad Schumann, and he had 19 years old when he did that. Actually, he was pretty young. How old are you?
19.
19. I'm 23. I'm an old guy, but doesn't matter. So this Konrad Schumann did that. He was a soldier from the Democratic Republic of Deutschland, of Germany. And what else?
Well, when he just trespassed the barricade, the police captured him, and a few months later he can go to the center of the country. A few years later he married with his wife in 1963, and later that year he had a son. He worked as nurse, as assembler in the Audi factory. He was a builder and so much things more. The popularity that he gained when the photo was released was quickly forgotten, and he was like forgotten by the people. But in November 9 of 1989, when the Berlin Wall was like destroyed, he was like famous again because of all the interviews that the press and the media was like wanting to do with him.
A border guard had made his decision.
I made the decision very suddenly. I would leave the country. I wasn't willing to stay any longer. This picture became a symbol. The jump was so dreamlike, I don't remember it. I started to run, I jumped, and the next moment I was in the car. It went very quickly. It lasted for 3 or 4 seconds.
After the breakdown of the Berlin Wall, he can go back to his natal city, and he can rejoin with his family. But then
He jumped again 9 years later, but in this case he jumped to the death because he hanged himself 1998, 20 of June, because he was suffering depression, he was in the alcoholism, all that because of the context of his life. So now let's talk about the political context of the photo.
As World War II came to an end in 1945, a pair of Allied peace conferences at Yalta and Potsdam determined the fate of Germany's territories. They split the defeated nation into 4 Allied occupation zones: The eastern part of the country went to the Soviet Union, while the western part went to the United States, Great Britain, and eventually France. On August 13 of 1961, the communist government of the German Democratic Republic GDR, or East Germany, began to build a barbed wire and concrete barrier between East and West Berlin. The official purpose of this Berlin Wall was to keep Western fascists from entering East Germany and spread the socialist ideas all over the state.
Before the wall was built, Berliners on both sides of the city could move around fairly freely. They crossed the east-west border to work, to shop, to go to the theater and the movies. Trains and subway lines carried passengers back and forth. After the wall was built, it became impossible to get from East to West Berlin except through one of the three checkpoints. At Checkpoint Alpha, in American military parlance, at Checkpoint Bravo, and in the center of Berlin at Checkpoint Charlie. Eventually, the GDR built 12 checkpoints along the wall. At each of the checkpoints, East German soldiers screened diplomats and other officials before they were allowed to enter or leave.
In all, at least 171 people were killed trying to get over, under, or around the Berlin Wall. Escape from East Germany was not impossible. However, from 1961 until the wall came down in 1989, more than 5,000 East Germans, including some 600 border guards, managed to cross the border by jumping out of windows close to the wall, climbing over the barbed wire, flying in hot air balloons, and many other clever ways. On November 9, 1899, as the Cold War began to melt down across Eastern Europe, the spokesman for East Berlin announced a change in his city's relations with the West. Starting at midnight that day, he said citizens of the GDR were free to cross the country's borders. East and West Berliners gathered around to the wall, drank beer and champagne, and screamed, "Open the gate." More than 2 million people from East Berlin visited West Berlin that weekend to participate in a celebration that was, in the words of a famous journalist, the greatest street party in the history of the world.